Alright, so I've set up this sample web page. It has basically an H1 up here that says look at this. It's got some paragraphs full of lorem ipsum content, a couple more H3 headings, and I also have a picture on the page. But right now we're going to be looking basically at this H1 element. Just look at this right here. You can see in my style sheet I've already turned on a border, even though we haven't talked about border, and I'm turning it on because the border, without having a border, it's hard to see the difference between padding and margin. So let me set some padding here. So one of the ways we can do padding is to just specify a value, a single value, in this case 10 pixels, and I'll save that. I'll come over here and refresh my page, and you can look, there's an extra 10 pixels now between the letters and the border. There's 10 pixels on the bottom, there's 10 pixels on the top, there's 10 pixels on the left, and there is 10 pixels on the right, although it's harder to see because we have a bunch of blank space in our H1 here. So you can't see it on the right, but you're just going to have to trust me. There's 10 pixels on each side of this. So now we can use some other methods. We can specify padding top. If I just specify padding top, now I only have 10 extra pixels at the top. I can also do padding left. Okay, that gives me 10 pixels at the left. Let's turn it up to 20. And hit refresh again. And you can see I have 20 pixels on the left, 10 pixels on the top, and I can do the same thing for top and bottom. There is also another shorthand way that we can do this, and I can do padding, and I can say 10 pixels, 20 pixels, let's just do 30 pixels and 40 pixels. Okay. This is an abbreviated way to specify all four of them on one line. And I like to think of it as a clock. So we start at the top of the clock. Let me save this and refresh it so you can see it. We start at the top of the clock. I put 10 pixels at the top above the letters, 20 pixels on the right side, which we can't really see. So top right, then the bottom, 30 pixels down here, and then left, 40 pixels to the left of it. And I forgot my semicolon. Alright, so we can specify top, right, bottom, and left in one statement if we want to. We can also do that with EM values. Now let's talk about margin. So if you notice we put space up here, I'm just going to go back to 20 pixels all around. Alright, now let's do margin. And I'll do 20 pixels on the margin too. Hit save, come over here and refresh. Now if you look, around the outside of the border, I have 20 pixels. Let me turn both of those off for a second. Copy them out, save, refresh. There's no margin, and you can see where the edge of the box goes. Okay. No margin and no padding. And now I'm going to put them back in. Actually, let me just put in margin for now. And now you see I have the extra margin left, top, right, and bottom. Okay. And I'll put the padding back in there now. And now I have inside. Padding is inside the border. Margin is outside the border. The margin increased the space between the box and the kraken down here. Every element has margin. And it's the same on margin. I can just specify a margin top if I want. So now I'm just going to have margin on the top. You'll see the left and right side disappear, but I'll still keep a 20 pixel margin at the top as soon as I refresh. Okay. So these got moved back over. Let me make it a little more exaggerated. 50 pixels all around. I got 50 pixels at the top, excuse me. Now I have 50 pixels all around. There's a big space here, a big space here, a big space on the right, and a big space on the top. Margin can also use the shorthand property where I set the top, right, bottom, and left. Remember, we go around the clock clockwise. So let's set the top to 20 pixels. We'll set the right to 50, the bottom to 50, the bottom to 20, and the left to 50. Save that and refresh it. Okay. There, I've got some left and right margin. I got a little bit less on the top and bottom. All right, so I talked about doing this shorthand. Okay. And we can do that same shorthand for the padding, top, right, bottom, and left. But there are also a couple other ways. We can do exactly what I did here with two elements. So I got the tops and the bottom set the same, and the left and the right set the same. If I just specify two values, it automatically does that. So if it sees if the browser sees two values after the margin, it takes this to be the top and bottom, and this to be the left and right, and we'll have the exact same effect that we have right now, even though I only specified two values. We can also go to 3 values. Let me do 10 pixels here. Save that and refresh it. And if you saw, my little kraken just moved up there, right? So this is the top. When I use 3 values, it assumes the first one is the top, the second one is the left and right, and the third one is the bottom. So I went from 20 to 10, and if you saw when I refreshed the page, go ahead and rewind the video if you didn't see it. My kraken moved up a little bit because I didn't tell it to put as much space underneath this bottom border. All right, in the next video, I'll start talking more about this border that we've already seen.